Good morning, everybody. My name is Ali Abbas, and today I'm going to do a presentation about applied linguistics, a topic regarding applied linguistics. So my topic is about pragmatics, about pragmatics, and here's the outline for today. The definitions for linguistics, applied linguistics, and pragmatics, followed by three concept theories, followed by real-world examples and references, and then I'll be ready for any questions that you may definitely have, but I'll do my best ability to answer them. So without any further ado, 1, 2, 3, allons-y. So the first concept theory is, what is linguistics? So basically linguistics, the human language is a complex of knowledge and abilities which permits users in order to communicate, discourse, and interact with one another in order to share, express their desires as well as their emotions. That being said, the system of linguistics is basically used to determine the following: how a knowledge system is structured, followed by how it is acquired, as well as understand how it's used in the production and understanding of the message. As you can see on the board, linguistics can be divided into various subfields, such as phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, as well as pragmatics, which is a study of language in context. Okay, that being said, I'll move on to applied linguistics. Okay, definition that I found was basically the theoretical and empirical investigation of real-world problems in which language is a central issue. This was defined by Christopher Brumpet in 1995. Within applied linguistics, it's used to solve real-world problems such as in fields such as psychology, sociology, as well as education. And it's used to help understand why people use certain languages to understand the mental state of mind, as well as how to interact with one another in society, as well as academia purposes. In addition, applied linguistics can also be used in fields to translate text from different time periods and different cultures, such as, let's say, the Masonic, Amazon, and Aztecan cultures, as well as semantic language such as Arabic and Hebrew. And it's also used in speech therapy for people who have developed or started to develop speech impediments during their younger adult years, as well as people who have developed strokes, as well as children from young age who are stuttering or have problems speaking. Okay. So I'd like to move on to pragmatics now. So how would we define pragmatics, basically? Pragmatics. It's basically a specialized branch of study which focuses on the relationship between natural language and users of the language. And this was defined by George Hill in 1996. Okay, so pragmatics is also a major important focus on conversational emphasis, in which somebody says something or implies something, as well as how the person construes it or interprets it. Pragmatics can also be used via things such as metaphor, as well as intentions, as well as irony. That being said, pragmatics can also be used to convey and understand the meaning of what we want to say, how people interpret it, be it, let's say, verbal or non-verbal. Verbal is, let's say, by the stress of words, intonation, via, let's say, their body language, in other ways such as, let's say, non-verbal cues such as eye contact, the odd cough to change the topic, as well as it comes underneath paralinguistics. So I would like to start off with the first concept theory, and that is, when it loads up with respect, it's the cooperative principle by Mr. Paul Bryce. He states that when we are conversing with one another, it is imperative that we are important enough to explain what we want to say, be relevant, be concise and clear, as well as give the truth at all times, which then leads us on to the four maxims of Bryce, which is also known as the maxims of conversation. Four aspects are quality, quantity, relevance, and manner. So the first one, the maximum of quantity, it states that when we're giving out enough information, but we hold back because we don't want to be too revealing. We want to be understood at the first attempt. So in other words, we want to be quiet. An example That's basically somebody in work or class asks me, Al, where are you from? I would say I'm from Pakistan, but I was raised in Glasgow, Scotland, but I've got heritage from both the Indian subcontinent and from the Middle East. That's just me being informative. Now it's up to the person to understand what I want to say via my facial expressions or via my intonations. The maximum of quality is all about information we give out as truth without giving up any evidence or showing any evidence. Another example would be, Al, where are you going? I would say, I'm going to work. Can you not see I'm dressed? But I don't need to back it up with evidence until somebody pulls me up for it, okay? So that's me being truthful at all times, giving out the truth information. The maximum of relevance is where one stays on topic at all times and does not deviate from the original topic. So right now I'm discussing about the cooperative principle, and I don't want to deviate to another topic. Or pardon me. Another example would be right now a lot of the shenanigans in the Middle East are going on about Qatar. They're always talking about football, but then they'd be deviating into politics. So the maximum of relevance is all about staying on one topic instead of changing the topic. And then the maxim of manner is all about where we're being clear and concise at all times in order for people to understand us and not be mysterious, obscure, or misunderstood. This is known as the maxim of conversation by Paul Rice. So now I'd like to go on to the second theory, which is the politeness theory. And this is devised by Steve Levinson and Penelope Brown in the 1970s. The politeness theory is all about the concept of saving face. And what we mean by saving face is by maintaining a public image, by maintaining a public positive image at all times, as well as avoiding humiliation. So, within this concept of saving face, there's two aspects, the positive face and the negative face. The positive face is where we want to be liked at all times, be respected, admired, be relied upon, as well as be, in other words, simply just be loved for who we are, appreciated. Whereas the negative face is all about the fact where we don't want to be subjugated, controlled, or dominated. We want to be acting as if we want to be free, okay, without being held by any restrictions. So I want to show you two clips right now where this politeness theory is implemented, and the first one is featuring Grey's Anatomy. So here we go. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to see me.
This is Missy Grant from Human Resources.
You're kidding me. You're firing me.
Steve.
You can't do that. You can't fire me for having cancer. I'm pretty sure that's 5 kinds of illegal.
This is not about the cancer.
It's about the kidney patient. I made a mistake. But doctors make mistakes in this hospital every day.
Yes, but when
You let me come back after I...
So within this video, the politeness video, a woman has come in and she's realized that she's relieved of her duties. Here, the two people, the human resources manager as well as the manager, they're maintaining a public positive face in a very tricky and upsetting situation. But here, this woman is applying the negative face, which I'll show you in the next scene as well. Here, she's trying to avoid humiliation, but due to human emotions, it gets the better of us. And the two people, they're maintaining a positive public image in order not to be humiliated or humiliate the women in the situation that's going on. And the second scene I'd like to show you is the negative one.
the board met this morning, they feel that a suspension would send the wrong message. They feel that what you did disgraced the hospital, the profession. I'm sorry. I did everything I could.
So what are you saying?
You're fired. Effective immediately. You're no longer a doctor at Seattle Grace.
So the second scene shows us the implementation theory of the negative face by this woman here. she feels a tad bit humiliated, but she's trying to maintain her public image, whereas the man who's told her the information, he's maintaining his positive face, but at the same time, he's not being construed by, you know, the emotions of the woman, of the colleague who's feeling a bit downright at this time. So both aspects is that this woman here has got the negative face. She's trying to avoid humiliation, but she's maintaining her public image, whereas the man, he doesn't care, he's just fired her on the spot due to the situation that's happened at the hospital. Okay, that being said, I'd like to go on to the next theory, which is the conversational implicature, a concept which I have come to like because, in a way, it links to me because I tend to not be direct, I always be indirect. So the conversational implicature is basically an indirect form of communication, where it's also linked to the cooperative principle by Paul Rice. Within this theory, it states that we are always sure that the people that we're speaking to will understand us because either they're on the same page, same book, or same wavelength. In other words, they understand what we are saying because because they read between the lines, or they've been raised up in an environment where they can pick up on these things, as opposed to with respect to L2 or L3 learner. Right, I want to give an example here. Basically, imagine, let's say, everybody is in a room right now, okay? They're all minding their own business, either talking in a group, they're watching television. I walk in and I ask basically the simple question, is anybody watching TV? Nobody responds because either they're on their mobile phones or on their laptops, or they're basically just busy whatnot. I could take that two ways. The first way I could take it is personally, or the more better way I could take it is implicitly, because no one's responding because they're either they're too busy talking, or too busy focused on their things, that they won't reply back because they understand that they're not interested in the TV, so I can change the channel. So basically the meaning was implied by the indirect form of communication. Now, okay, I'd like to show you an example which is to do with the conversational implicature, which is from, has anybody seen the television show Friends? Yes, no? Good, good, okay. So it's basically one of two characters we all come to know, it's Monica and Chandler. And here we go.
God, this adoption stuff is so overwhelming. There's inter-country adoption, dependency adoption. So many ways to go, and this is like the biggest decision of our lives.
There's a hair in my coffee.
Okay. That first scene basically is Monica and Chandler are on the sofa at Central Perk. She is discussing about adopting a child. Here, Monica asks Chandler a simple question regarding adoption, but Chandler, being Chandler who is uncomfortable with things going too fast, indirectly responds to her by deviating, again, the cooperative principle linked to the conversational implicature, deviates the topic from adoption to a strand of hair in his cup, which implies that he's understood what Monica said, but at the same time, he doesn't want to reply because he's uncomfortable, and she's understood because she's on the same wavelength. Okay? And the second link that I want to show is basically, may I add with respect that I did get permission to show this clip, but if anybody feels offended by this, I hold my hands up and apologize in advance. It's nothing extremely rude, it's just an adult joke going on between English pundits on a TV show. So here we go. Okay, I'll just carry on. I don't know why that link's not working, sorry. But what I will say basically is that the three men are talking, the context is about egos getting too big for certain people, but what happened at the same time, Mr. Lineker, the man, implies something adult saying about hands getting bigger, which another person says, well, we've all done that, and they've understood what the reference is to do with the human anatomy with respect. They've understood it because in the same wavelength. Okay, so carrying on with the real world examples, I want to start off with Austin's speech act theory, which is the LIP, locutionary, illocutionary, and perlocutionary. So three things are said: what is being said, what's intended to say, and what's the intended interpretation. So this sentence here, will you crack open the door, I am dying. Semantically, the word crack means to break something, to destroy or to damage something. However, pragmatically, the word means basically open the door because somebody is either having a panic attack, is feeling flushed, or is feeling too hot. And by this sentence here, I am dying, they've understood that they need to open the window quickly. The second sentence says, I arrived at party dressed to kill, which basically means semantically the word kill is mean to cause life, to kill somebody, to remove somebody from life by violent means of slaughter. Pragmatically, the word kill means basically to impress a group of people at a party, so the person will stand there, be the belle of the ball or be the stud of the ball, whatever the quotation word is, via immaculate, pristine, or tip-top clothes. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, just want to say these are my references. Thank you so much for being patient and listening to my presentation. I hope you've understood what I've said, and I hope you have a few questions basically to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Al. Who's got a question? Go ahead, Valeria.
Has the knowledge of pragmatics helped you understand the people better? Maybe before knowing all of that stuff, maybe you had some problems maybe understanding somebody's implied meanings, but after covering all of these things, you feel, okay, now I know what you actually mean.
Well, I have mentioned it to Katie and to Steve as well, and I'll mention it to you guys as well, that I've had a massive appreciation and understanding for pragmatics. Beforehand, I knew I could read between the lines. I could understand what people, let's say, mean or by their body language, or let's say the one thing I've liked about pragmatics is paralinguistics, the eye contact as well as the odd cough. Now I can pick things up before I couldn't, but I turn a blind eye to it because in a way it's much more easier to avoid conflict. Like I said during the presentation, I've understood that I always apply the conversational implicature. I'm indirect because sometimes I'm not good communicating with people because I hold up a barrier because of things that happened in the past. And I've appreciated that I need to be more clear and concise. But for me to be more clear and concise, I need to, with respect, slow down, have a clear head, and use the appropriate and correct words at the correct times. Does anybody have another question with respect? Hope that answered your question, sorry. Yeah? Sorry.
No, thank you for
You're welcome. Anybody else have another question with respect?
I've got another question if no one else has got one. Thank you for that, Al. You, in the presentation and also just now, you've explained quite clearly how these concepts that you've been explaining are useful and how they can be applied to real world contexts. I wonder if in your preparation for this, you came across any of the limitations of these types of concepts, or perhaps some of the critiques of these concepts that we might have to also consider when we're using them.
Yeah, so like I said, for me during the presentation, actually it was to do with the conversational implicature that people can read between the lines because either they have a good knowledge of English or they've been around social, let's say they've been in a society where they can read between the lines, whereas as opposed to a L2 or L3 learner that they might not be aware, and they might construe it as, let's say, somebody mocking them or somebody, making fun of them, but then it's like they'd have to be in the situation to understand. So I mean, conversational picture is basically, let's say, used in pretty much everyday theories, everyday aspects of society, as well as the politeness theory. So I would say that the limitation would be like sometimes people might misconstrue it because either they have low self-esteem or low confidence at a time, but as time goes on they'll pick up on it and then their perceptions change due to the environment that they are now being brought up in, as opposed to their cultural or, let's say, background norms.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have one more question? I'm happy to answer. I'm on a roll right now. No? Okay then, thank you very much.
All right, thanks very much, Al.